Hey guys, and welcome to Tnashi's Movie Corner. For today's review, I will be doing a spoiler review on Captain America Civil War. Just got done seeing it twice yesterday, so Saturday. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce Brad here. Say hi.
Hey everyone.
All right, so we were waiting on him in order for me to do the spoiler review, so you're going to have to sit there and listen to him give his review first. and and then we'll discuss it. That's right. You gotta wait. No, I'm kidding. But honestly, we're gonna get his thoughts on it. So go ahead and give your thoughts, non-spoiler, first, and then we'll say when we start the spoilers.
Okay. I guess I'll get right down to it. Overall, I think this was a good movie. Some of the action looks really good. Some of the action is kind of real shaky. And at first, when I was watching this, I was thinking maybe it's because of a 3D thing, and found out later, and it's like, no, it's kind of in every version of this movie.
Yeah, we did watch it in 3D.
Some of the character interactions with each other are pretty good. You know, they're funny. They feel a little bit more natural. Others are a little bit less natural. They're kind of actually awkward at a few times. There's even one character interaction I felt, for me personally, which is kind of spontaneous in there, you know, and it didn't really build up to it as much. So I think as far as the overall thing goes, the Civil War aspect, what they're actually fighting about, is an interesting concept. And there are arguments to be made for both sides of it. I wish that they had embellished upon this actually more. But as we'll get to in the spoiler review, though, there is like an element where they kind of detract from this a little bit, and that was a bit disappointing. But overall, just seeing how this played out and seeing why they feel the way that they do and all that kind of stuff is actually pretty interesting. So I think what I'm gonna give this as a rating is 6.5 to 7.
6.527. So no commitment here.
No, not yet.
Okay. Is there anything else? Because that was actually pretty quick and to the point. I'll be honest. That's pretty quick.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do for the spoiler-free one.
Oh, okay, sure. So let's go ahead. You heard it. That's his score. You know my score if you watched the other one. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into the spoiler talk on it. So if you haven't seen the movie, the hell are you doing? Go watch the movie and then come back. All right, ready? Let's go ahead and. Do you want to start or should I start?
I'll let you start.
You'll let me start. Okay. Positive or negative? Oh, I'm actually gonna start off with a positive that you found to be a negative. So we're gonna have our own Civil War right here. One of the things that I found positive was the relationship that was kind of establishing between Vision and Scarlet Witch. If you've read the comics, you know that it's there, right? They have a long history. I like that it brought it into the movie. I like that it was developing through the movie and that you could see that there was something. Even if you weren't a fan of the comics, I feel like you could see it. And I don't think they overdid it, whereas one of the things in Age of Ultron I didn't like was the relationship between Black Widow and Hulk. I didn't buy into it. They just threw us head first into this relationship that had already been pushing too much, you know? They were asking too much. This one, they were just kind of flirting around the idea of it, and I like that they did that. But you did not see things the way I did, right?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And although I will not say that this is to the same degree that the Black Widow Hulk relationship was in the last movie, it was a similar concept for me. You know, I felt like they had limited interaction up to this point, and then they're just kind of, they have this relationship now where you feel like there's supposed to be something there, but I feel like the movie should have sold me more on it without needing the comics, because I had heard that this isn't a comics, but I haven't read that myself. And so I wanted the movie to present it better to me. So I got more out of it, and that didn't happen here.
Right. So there you go. Two different sides of it. I think one thing we can agree on, though, the villain and I don't mean Crossbones, but we'll say Crossbones real quick. Boy, was he wasted. I mean,
Yeah.
they set him up in Winter Soldier. He had a bigger part in Winter Soldier, and they set him up as this villain, and they just, you know, I mean, he just blew away in the wind.
What do you have, like 10 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, maybe. So complete waste, and then the actual main villain, the one who's pulling the, hear me out. Realize I'm talking about Civil War. So there's this guy behind the scenes, knows information about these heroes. So he starts pulling some strings, manipulating, right, from the background, trying to get these heroes to fight each other. Okay? And it works, and the heroes do end up fighting each other finally throughout the course. Like, after building up to this point, they have this big showdown. It was 1-on-2, but still, in this particular point, it was 1-on-2. Does that sound familiar to another story? I'm not going to say what, but it might sound familiar. Anyway, this villain, I didn't think he was well done. Like, I get his motivation to an extent, but he could do some stuff that I'm like, how can he do this? And it's like, why bother? Because they were already going at each other, before that. So I'm not really sure why.
I agree with you on that. His motivations make sense. His ability and what he actually knows does not. Because he seems to have already a knowledge of the heroes, but he also has a knowledge of Hydra and of secret things that they did. And it's like, well, where did you get all this information? As far as we know, you're just some random guy with a grudge, But yet you had all of this. You infiltrated all his security, multiple times. He infiltrates a highly secure place and just kind of pulls all this stuff off. And it's like, how? Some random person shouldn't have been able to do that, but he does.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, there's this big reveal about, Bucky was responsible for killing, Tony's parents, right? Which they had tried to play throughout this one film, because they didn't really play it before, but they're going to play it throughout this film, right? So that was a whole thing, and then you might say that Iron Man was trying to kill Bucky, but wait a minute, he's a superhero. Oh no, superheroes can't possibly kill. They can't be willing to kill. What is this?
They're supposed to be above that, right?
Right. That would be completely against his character. People should protest this movie. I was like, you're trying not to laugh, but here's the thing.
I almost succeeded.
Yeah, you tried. But yeah, that was this whole big thing, this big point of happening in the film, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was really needed at all to get there. The heroes were already going against each other. And the Civil War aspect. Hey, guess what? There was one fight. One fight. One. Feels like that might be a reference to another movie where there was only one fight.
I can't imagine what movie you could possibly be talking about.
I really don't know. It's like in the back of my mind. I have no idea. But
now, some people might try to argue it's like, well, technically there are two, but not as part of the Civil War aspect.
Yeah.
There are like two conflicts, but they're not two like
there's only one where there's
battles,
a big side versus a big side. Which, by the way, that fight, awesome. I think we can agree on that, right? I really enjoyed that.
For the most part.
Giant man. Liked seeing him. I did. I liked seeing him. And his eyes got so wide, too. Like he had never done it before, even though he said he did. Because he gets up, he's like, whoa, and his eyes through the helmet were like back.
I will admit, though, as far as Giant Man's concerned, I don't know what it is about being like really big that makes people be like, well, you had to move like super slow. But it is still awesome.
Clearly, he's never seen basketball.
I don't watch basketball.
Aha! There you go. No, but Yeah, I enjoyed that fight. This isn't a gripe on the movie, but the trailers did give away too much. And that was a complaint that yet again was geared towards something else, right? I don't know what.
That we will not mention.
Yeah, we won't mention. But the first trailer, I believe it's the first trailer for this movie, gave us the final fight of this movie, and I was like, man, what the hell?
That's the unfortunate thing is a lot when we were watching this movie, I felt like okay, because I saw so many things from those trailers.
Yeah, you were like, oh, well, what's going on?
Yeah, and I knew how things were going to play out. And it's like, oh, so that's why they did this or whatever.
Right.
And it did take a lot of the element of surprise out of this thing. And I wasn't a person who really went out there and tried to look up every little tidbit about this movie. These are just things I more or less casually saw, and it kind of did that. So it doesn't like lower the score of the movie or anything for me.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Yeah, that was pretty much
so
it.
much was spoiled.
But I agree with like the action at the beginning was so shaky cam that it took me out. And I've seen this movie twice. It took me out both times. I was like, this is not good. This is not what I deem as good anyway. But then there's action sequences of it that were really good, like that airport scene. So I was like, okay, we've gotten better. So it almost felt like it was two different people doing it, which is weird because it wasn't, but it kind of felt like that. Iron Man and Captain America, their opposing views on it. I do believe in both of them. Like I was convinced of why both of them would pick the side that they did, right? I thought that was really well done. I don't know that I necessarily agree on it while it's been building up over these films, which is what people were saying. Is what I was thinking at first. I was like, okay, so this is going to be like some kind of build up. But it's not really how it played out. So I disagree with that aspect of it. But I did like it. I liked hearing. I wanted more of that Civil War aspect of it, as you said. I wanted to learn more about it, but I could at least understand where both were coming from. So that was good.
I do wish that they had incorporated more in the discussion about like key elements of what this accord was actually going to mean for the Avengers.
Yeah.
Because it does feel a lot like, the two sides are arguing about it based off of principle.
Yeah.
And you don't know what, and there's a lot of details that aren't known about this accord. And it's like, well, you wouldn't know everything about it because, like any legal document, it's probably like 600 pages long. But there should have been like, a few key things where they would argue about it. It's like, well, this accord would force us to do this.
Yeah.
And this is what I take an issue with because for this reason. So, yeah, that little debate that they had definitely should have played that up. I do like it. I wish they had expanded it though.
I think they introduced one new character in this film brilliantly, and I think the other one wasn't as well. The brilliant one was Black Panther, at least for me. I mean, for me, it made perfect sense. That did follow off of Ultron, so that was like continuing that, right? So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the actor, the performance that he gave. Black Panther was just a badass. So that was really cool. Like he became one of my favorite characters from this, live action series, purely based on his performance in this movie and even the character arc that he has, because he has an arc, and the fact that this shouldn't be too heavy for a positive on the movie, but I will say the fact that they used a language, an actual language for him, that they didn't make up their own dialect for Wakanda. They used an African language for it, was cool. I like that. So I thought he stole the movie. I thought he did a brilliant job. Now, he didn't actually fill in the role that Spider-Man did in the comics. And that's what people were thinking going in, was that he was going to fill in that role. This movie was completely portrayed differently than what the comics did. So there was no moment where Black Panther really had to make a choice like what Spider-Man had to. So you didn't follow that,
right. So they didn't do that, but I think for as little time as we have with Black Panther compared to these other characters, he did they did really well about presenting his character.
Yeah, I think they did an excellent job. Um, I'll get into Spider-Man because I do have my issues with Spider-Man, but I'm trying to think. Oh, the comedy. There. Okay, this movie is a darker toned movie, right?
Mhm.
Um, but they do lay some comedy throughout. Some comedy does not hit for me. Some of it hits for you that doesn't work for me. But that's the thing about comedy. That's the thing about films, right? Um, but there was definite moments that worked in both theaters that played out really well. That little tiny car being one of them. you know,
Yeah.
where it's like, can you move your seat up? No. And then when he ends up, Cap ends up kissing Agent 13, uh, he looks over and he sees both of them just nodding their heads and smiling. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
So that worked. And by the way, Agent 13, minor character, did a great job though. I liked her in this film. She had a little bit more, well, maybe not more. She had a bit in Winter Soldier, but I like seeing her. It's nice seeing some characters that are outside of the Avengers part play a big role, like Coulson did, right?
Right.
So I enjoyed that. Martin Freeman as Forgettable Face. I don't know what his name is. The government guy. Gosh, I don't.
Oh, the
yeah.
guy that was a general and became the secretary.
No, not him. Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. You're bad at names. Bilbo Baggins.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Yes.
This is how it works with them guys. Wasted. Just wasted. He's just there to be there. So I don't know. That just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even. I wasn't sure why this character was relevant.
Yeah.
I was wondering if he was supposed to be important or if he's just kind of there to say, oh, it's like, well, we have this like little, I guess, somewhat localized leader in this place. I don't know.
Captain Bucky and Falcon's relationship, how that worked, how they played off each other really well. I think that worked really good. Hawkeye was there to be Hawkeye, so he didn't do a whole lot. He didn't get as much time. Black Widow was a little on defensive. She had a little bit to do. I still don't feel she got as much, but she got more than I guess a couple others did. That was good. War Machine was there.
Was there?
He kind of always is though. He's just kind of there in the movie. So yeah. Ant-Man was there to be funny and to be cool, I guess, for the audience.
Because it's like, yay, we got Giant Man now.
This is your conscience. So
You don't speak too often.
Yeah, we don't speak too often. Right. So I mean, there's definitely good in this movie. Like I rated the movie higher than you. That surprised me a little bit. I thought you would like it more than I did. I gave it the same rating as another film that we will not name because we should not draw comparisons to films outside. Right? This should be on its own.
That's a very big no-no.
It's a very big no-no. It's not like everybody else has done it. Don't do it. Anyway, yeah. So but I did. There's a lot that I enjoyed about this film, and I'm gonna get into something that I did not hate, but I did not love, and I wanted to love it so bad.
Right.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. He is my favorite. As much as I like Batman, as much as you see Batman icons on my page, perhaps.
And everywhere else.
No, that's because Spider-Man just doesn't have as many cool picks. I need a really cool pick of Spider-Man. But he is my favorite superhero. And I said in my review that I lost something with this Spider-Man. But I want to get your take. Go ahead and say, aside from the one thing, because you know what it is. What did you think about Spider-Man?
To be honest, I had a hard time being sold on him as Spider-Man when we first introduced him.
Oh, okay.
Because I will admit that yes, this is again something of a personal bias because um, it just having this guy as Peter Parker and the fact that he's like a dumpster diver as they refer to him as because he's scrounging up all these parts and he has like a young Aunt May and all that kind of stuff. It was very
Yeah.
much different from all the other things I had associated with Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, it's always
And
been broke.
yeah, and so but having that, having something a bit different, can really pay off
Hmm.
at times because it's like, well, that's actually pretty cool. But this one for me did not resonate too well. And so when we were introduced to him, and it's like, well, this is what we're giving you, with all these changes from what I remembered. I wasn't quite so on board with that because it's like if you change something, and I thought that was, and and again, you could have taken this in creative directions, but not have, but this just wasn't. I didn't care for this. I felt like he kind of, well, as you said, he kind of lost some of the things that really made him, like what really hit him as Spider-Man when he was first starting off. And I saw no semblance of that.
Okay. I actually didn't mind his intro. I didn't mind his age. I didn't mind that his aunt was young, a lot like younger. I didn't mind that he was, in high school, or that his suit wasn't done right, and he had to get it from Iron Man. I did mind his motivation. You mentioned that his motivation for joining on Team Iron Man seemed a little off to me. So it didn't take much convincing, but I guess he's being bribed. Okay.
Yeah, he is completely being bribed. I mean, Iron Man's like, yeah, you can join up with us, do legit things, and we'll give you a new suit.
Right.
It's like that. It's like a cliche, like signing up bonus. It's like we'll give you, all this
Yeah.
cool stuff if you sign up for us. And it's like, okay, so what are we doing? Well, we got to fight a team of superheroes.
Right.
Wait, what?
Of which you look up to at least one of them. So, but the big thing that I said before, and we're gonna try to reach 2025 no longer than that. So, big thing I said though is he lost his wit. He lost those one-liners that he does that I love him for. He lost that joking aspect of him. He lost the ability to really get himself out of situations and his tactics changing to suit the enemy that he's fighting, because when he takes Cap down for a moment, he's like, oh, Iron Man said to do this, so he didn't think it, he was told it, and when you're laughing at moments that he has, and there were funny moments, I'll admit that, you're laughing at him. You're not laughing with him. Whereas Deadpool says something and you're like, that's funny. Right? Because he said it. Because it's supposed to be funny. Not, something happening or what, not him talking, being all sciencey and then or someone getting onto him and being like, oh yeah. That's, to me, that doesn't work. That doesn't fit. That just doesn't fit with the character that I love. Andrew Garfield did a much better job of presenting that kind of humorous side of Spider-Man than this guy did. This kid didn't do that. And, when Ant-Man gets big and he's like, holy shit, and the audience is laughing, well, of course you're laughing because it didn't matter who would say holy shit. The fact is, it was said. That was funny.
Right.
Anyone could have said that. Iron Man could have said that. And then Cap could have been like language, and it would have been hilarious all over again. Callback.
Yeah, there would have been this whole thing. It's like, oh wait, no, not this again.
Speaking of callbacks, bringing up Star Wars, really, Disney? Yes, we know you own it. Like, that just wasn't needed. That felt like it was supposed to be there. So, I don't know. That just didn't work for me. I felt like I lost something out of Spider-Man. And again, I'm more okay. Like, I'm willing to be like, okay, this other stuff is fine. I can deal with that. Because there has been younger Spider-Man before, or what have you. Not usually younger anime, but there's been changes, and I can deal with changes with characters, which is what a lot of people, you'd think if they could deal with this change, they couldn't deal with a change in another movie, right? You think it'd be both ways, like, oh well, um, this affects this or what have you. I think there's aspects of it that you can be accepting of, and there's aspects of it that, for me personally, I do feel like I'm losing something, but I don't hate the character. Whereas
Right.
in a movie, well, I'm not going to get into more of that. I guess we'll leave that movie out, right?
Just kind of skirt around the
This
side.
nameless unknown movie. Anyway, we have surpassed the point of no return. So I think I've said enough. I will say one of my favorite Spider-Mans was the 90s animated series Spider-Man. This does not incorporate that. This does not incorporate the Spider-Man I grew up with. The Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the Mark Webb Spider-Man, those didn't either. But they had enough there to where they still had enough to really sell me for the character. This was missing something essential. So that's all I have to say on Civil War, really. CG was good. I think CG was impressive. There was some
Yeah.
impressive powers displayed. Anything else?
Um, no, I think that's most of the important stuff. I won't say all the important stuff because I think there's always like something you go back later and it's like,
Oh, there's
wait,
always
I forgot
more.
something like that. I will say that to add on to your comment, I feel like we all knew that Spider-Man wasn't initially in this movie, and then people wanted Spider-Man in this movie, and they worked out a deal and they got him. The thing about it is, I felt like we definitely got more out of Black Panther's introduction into this movie, into the Avengers and all that stuff than what we got with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's thing was very just
Short.
and spontaneous. It's like I happen to see this video and I happen to track you down and do all this stuff, and yeah, so it does from that.
Well,
and
that's another thing too. That's why I wish the trailer hadn't have shown me that he was going to be in the movie, because you showed me part of a scene that's a very. It's not a short sequence, but overall he's not in the movie that much. So you've already shown me something from the little that he's in the movie.
he's got like what, one scene and then he's in the battle.
Yeah.
And the other little tidbit I'm gonna have is about this prison, right?
Oh,
Where they
right.
have the Avengers, and in dialogue, it almost seems to suggest that the thing was supposed to be there to hold, like, villains and supervillains and whatever have you.
Right.
But as far as we know, there are no supervillains or villains, because this isn't like the series where the Avengers have fought all these people. It's just kind of there. So it seems like a prison popped up overnight in the middle of the ocean that's supposed to hold Avengers.
Yeah, I thought you'd see Abomination. I thought that'd be perfect. See Abomination. We don't know what happened to him. Why not? But
Actually, yes, that definitely would have been something. But they almost probably want to distance themselves from that movie just because of the whole.
what if they wanted to distance? They wouldn't have brought the general back.
Oh,
Ah,
maybe they're picking and choosing.
Speaking of which, and we are well past the time, but I'm gonna let you finish with this last point. Okay, do one more. Do a point that's gonna be positive for the end, because this film has very broad positive points generally, whereas the negative is quite specific. But you had a negative concerning the UN, right, and how they were represented in the film. Because you were talking about who we get to see dishing out orders, and yet who gets answered to.
Yes,
So,
because
yeah.
this whole thing was that the Avengers was supposed to fall under UN jurisdiction, so there's supposed to be this panel or whatever that or whatever that determines like what the Avengers do and okays their missions and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there was that bombing incident, but right afterwards we have the general who's now he was what, the Secretary of Defense or something.
State.
Secretary. Okay, well, he's in that position, but now he's like solely calling all the shots as one individual. And it's like, well, even if this happened, if this is supposed to be a UN thing, there should have been other UN people to like try to take that place instead of just deferring to one person with obvious ties to the American government.
Right. All right. And the positive? It's a thinker.
Well, let me think. What positive have I?
Okay. I'm gonna do it then. Can I do it?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to say, for a positive, I do appreciate that they were trying to tie up some of the loose ends from some other films. The thing, well, here's the thing: they bring in where's Thor, they bring in where's Hulk, and they use that, for to kind of help move the whole Civil War aspect, the Accord aspect, right? Document. They mention Pepper Potts and the kind of whole deal about, well, Iron Man's still Iron Man, and how that had a negative effect because of Iron Man 3. So they addressed that. I like that they did that. I like that they addressed it. They brought in the fact that Scarlet Witch used to work for Hydra. So that got mentioned too. That was really good. I like these moments where they tie in to other films. I think that really helps it along. Using these other films as a stepping off point to bring in the whole documents in the first place made sense to me. So it had some build up from the other films, right?
They did tie these things in pretty well.
Yeah. So I actually I really like that. I like that aspect. I thought that was a really good aspect. But anyway, that's all I got to say. You got any more?
No, I think we covered most everything.
Okay, that'll wrap this up. Thank you guys for sticking around, listening to this, listening us to go on and on and on. Hopefully you enjoyed this vid. Click that like button, share, subscribe to my channel, watch my other vids, and share your opinion. Go ahead. I mean, you've heard my side of it. You've heard his side of it. His side is less valuable than my side, right? Because I'm in charge of this channel. Okay, okay. That's not how that works. But realistically, whether you love the film, whether you liked the film, whether you hated the film, or you were just disappointed overall by the film, let me know your opinion down in the comments below and what you did like and didn't like. I appreciate hearing from you guys and having a conversation go. So, like I said, that'll wrap this up. And until next time, peace.